How are you? I'm Martin from Gardens for Life. We're going to take a look at our other garden. We have a lot of rain coming in a couple of hours, and it's meant to be like 100 millimeters of rain in the next few days here in the Midlands of Ireland. Better do a little video beforehand. We had a little frost here a few days ago, so I'm going to show you how that impacted our tuberous plants that are a little bit more sensitive, like the yacon and the ochas especially. They took a little bit of a hit, but they're still intact, and we have warm weather coming up. Unfortunately, with the warm weather we always get rain as well, because it's the Atlantic Gulf Stream air coming up, a little bit of tropical air. We don't mind getting the old 10 degrees Celsius here in mid-October, but it is usually wet when that happens, when we don't get frosts. We brought our two friends as well. How are you doing, Nina? Levi? Good. You'll take a run here now. Even just the front garden has really turned into a true jungle, with raspberries and sea buckthorn and all sorts of different berry bushes all growing. This was actually just a sapling of a sea buckthorn that came from this father plant. I can't really call it a mother plant because it's a male, I suppose. But that one was the original, and this one popped up out of the ground. And this one, this sea buckthorn, was only about that size, about a year and a half ago. So that's 2 seasons of growth from this to that. So that's like maybe 10 feet tall or 3 meters. Let's take a look here. This garden, I will suspect it's going to have gone very weedy. I did do a little bit of weeding. Oh yeah, I see it's actually wet. I'm going to put on some wellies. Finally, some decent wellies. These ones have neoprene in them. Just a thin layer. That black layer is actually the neoprene, and they'll keep your feet warm during the winter months. Those are good dogs. Good dogs. All right, ready to go. Look at the grass, how rich the grass is here. This year we didn't actually mow it, we just flattened it with a car. We simply drove the car around in circles here, and that helped a lot to contain the grass and to have it not go to seed a second time. We topped it once in early summer, just when it was about to go to seed. You can see even the raspberries are getting thin now. They're losing most of the leaves, but look at that for phenomenal growth. This area here had no raspberries in it at all 2 years ago, because it was actually just grass 2 years ago, and now we've got lots of healthy plants and lots of produce as well, lots of berries from that. Twice a year. These are primocane, so they fruit on this year's wood and again on the same wood again next year. You can look at this, dahlia. Oh, that one's gone. We got some comfrey here. You can see the willows are starting to lose their leaves. Our willow shelter belt. If you haven't seen the video about the shelter belt, take a look at it. It's all about how we plant willows, and these willows are now 5 years old, and they've been mulched about a year and a half ago. That means we took away all the grass underneath simply by covering it with cardboard, and you can see it's actually doing really well. And we've got mashuas climbing up this side here. And what I do is simple technique. I simply just bend down some of the branches like that, and then the mashua can actually climb up. So I've done that here in places, so to give the mashua a start, and then it climbs up all the way up into the canopy, and the mashua leaves will stay intact until we get a real hard frost. So they're a bit hardier than the ochas or the yacons, all those ancient edible tubers. Now please bear in mind that I spent very little time on this garden this year, and it's remarkable the level of productivity. Of course there are a lot of weeds at this point, but those will be easy enough to deal with because it is no dig. But mainly I've been working with a technique called canopy gardening, where I simply grow lots of my own, the cultivated plants basically, plants other than weeds or wild plants, in an area and leave no space for weeds, such as the ochas for example. You can see here there's no weeds in between, and that's simply because there is no space for them. These are the ochas you can see here. That is frost damage. I'd say when they freeze and then the next morning the sun actually thaws them. And take a look at this. These are the yacons, and you can see clearly that some of the leaves have been damaged by the frost. And a lot of the leaves are still intact, so hopefully we're still pumping some energy into the tubers below the ground. And we will over the coming weeks. Unless we get a real hard frost, then it's over. Then you might as well dig them up, because once the leaves are gone, that's the end of it, I suppose. These are the Jacob's ladder. You can see some of the remnants of the flowers. In the summer you get more of them. They're lovely blue flower with yellow stamen, I believe they're called. And we got some more ochas. Look at this, how these ochas did not take any frost damage. Only probably because they're next to these trees. There's some fruit trees here. It's actually a peach tree by the looks of it. I didn't even know I have a peach tree planted here. Of course, I planted a number of fruit trees here that were just from Aldi and Lidl, and some of them didn't make it. Like this plum tree here, they do grow quite well, but they don't fruit very well. Maybe after a few years, we'll see. Hopefully next year we'll get some plums on those. These are the Egyptian walking onions, so those are only this year's. Next year they'll get much bigger. Where are they gone now? Good. Good. Where's the other one? Ah, there he is. I said I'd better bring the dogs out for a walk or for a run before the rain comes, because it's going to start raining and it's not going to stop for 36 hours apparently. So these are the Chinese rhubarb, and they're doing really well. The frost didn't do any damage to them at all, and everything is doing really well. I mean, this is all going to be turned into a forest garden eventually, meaning we are going to plant some more trees in between. So we have some elder trees and berry bushes here along the way, along the side of these no-dig beds. But it's really lovely and sheltered, especially in the summertime. You can see a lot of nettles popping up. I've been putting down some plastic as well, just to smother the nettles once and for all, but it'll take a full year to get rid of them, and even then you'll have some of them popping up, because perennial weeds are real good at staying dormant, especially throughout the winter months. So if you are smothering weeds, it's just much quicker in the summertime, because the heat and the black plastic helps a lot too. Nevertheless, 6 months of the winter will get rid of all this kind of grass here. We have some old compost here as well. The older the better. Been doing a little bit of weeding here earlier in the year, but in the last 4 months or so, since about the end of June, I have not done anything here, and it's all just cultivated plants. You can see lemon balm here. This is a loganberry. Lots of ocha. This is a pineapple sage, the most wonderful smell. Oh yeah. And you can see I might as well harvest some of these as well. These are the seed stalks of the great mullein, and we've got some of them here, good few. So we're going to be able to send out free seed samples to everybody. That's what we do, we just share them. This is a royal ingress tree. This is a foxglove tree, it's also known as, or Paulonia. And you can see it is only about 2.5 years old, I believe, and You can see the stem is already fairly substantial, but it did die back a good bit in that hard frost we had, minus 10 degrees Celsius that time. These trees don't really like the frost too much, but they're beautiful and they've got giant leaves as well. Of course, in the summertime would have been a better time to show you this. But hopefully we'll get some flowers on our paulownia trees next year. We have 2 more in the Woodchip Island over there. Let's take a look. We are covering this garden in wood chips. You can see the greenhouse is going a little green there. These are the kind of things I'm observing as I take some time and actually look around rather than just focusing on the current thing, because the to-do list is never ending and it's ever growing. I'm sure, as many of you will know, especially those of you who have homesteads, our tomatoes are doing okay in here. They weren't really taken care of much, but maybe we'll make some salsa from these if they don't ripen in here. What do you think? What do you think? Our fig trees are doing really well. Excuse me. Yeah, the wind has been blowing our temporary waterers around the place. This is our Madeira vine. Once we get a hard frost, that'll be all gone, and then we can dig up the tubers below the ground. Our goji berry is flowering once more, but it has not fruited. It's been in here for 3 years now, I believe, pretty much since the greenhouse has been built, and it has taken up a whopping amount of space, probably 2 or 3 square meters, and it's really not very productive other than cuttings. But you know, the leaves are probably nice too. They're meant to be very healthy, especially in a tea, and we can still take cuttings from it. The ones that we planted outside did okay. They're growing big, but they're not that good. They're not flowering outside. I would give a tomato to the dogs, but I've only got one. We were collecting them already a few days ago. Let's see how this one is. I don't think the dogs will actually eat it, but so I'll give it a try. Very good. You can't buy that in the shop. Now, excuse me. I'd like to go through here. Oh, thank you. Wow, it's a jungle in here. That was always the aim, to create a little jungle in the middle of the greenhouse here. These are our figs. Which one is that now? That is Persian black, and it is producing a lot of figs. And this is brown turkey. It grows so much faster than all the other varieties here. Even outdoors it does fine, and it also has fruits that ripen, but indoors it grows at least twice as fast. And the fruits, they ripen much quicker in a greenhouse, and they don't mind it super dry. I mean, there's no weeds in here because it's just so dry. This is the salt bush, which is a really nice vegetable. Did okay outside, but it does die back with a hard frost, so it may not come back next year. But in here, at least we have a sample plant now, although it's taken up far too much space. We are going to be able to take cuttings from that in years to come. It's a really nice vegetable. It tastes really salty when you eat it. It's kind of like spinach as well. You could cook it, you could eat it raw. And you can see here more figs. Those are black mission. And this area here, you know, it's not been used much, but there's extra potential here to use when I get the time to do it. And here, I've actually smothered all this grass before, about 2 years ago. Then I took the plastic away, and lo and behold, 2 months later, the grass was back. So yeah, if you smother your grasses, you better make sure you have your compost ready to go to put straight on top. And that way, and especially even have plants ready to go to plant into your compost straight away, just so the grasses don't come back. So this area has not been used much yet, and there's a couple of compost piles that are kind of overgrown. Going to cover those with plastic and we'll be able to use those next year. Wow, there's definitely a bit of frost damage here. In the garden behind our house, we didn't get any frost damage at all. It's more sheltered with the trees all around. But you can see here, there's clearly a lot of frost damage here. That's the Ocas, which is a tuberous plant. It's an oxalis. And we'll hopefully get some of those. Last year we nearly lost them all because of the frost. So let's see. This year we should have a good harvest, and hopefully we'll be able to offer more of them too. They are available on our website if you're interested in growing some of these tuberous vegetables. You'll have them forever. A lot of them are perennial and you can grow them on year after year. We have videos on all of them as well individually. You can see here the yacon has taken a little bit of frost damage, but that's not bad considering, look, the leaves are quite big. A few nettles popping up here and there, those need to be taken care of. And I have been chopping things back around here alright, just to not have them go to seed, but nevertheless they keep coming back unless you pull up the roots, of course. The weeds aren't going to go to seed anymore this time of year though, and it's not going to grow much anymore. It's getting colder, so the plants are definitely slowing down. Let's go back around this way. Oh, thistles. I better pull those up. They won't go to seed this year, so they're alright. I'll pull them up whenever I get a chance. Hopefully this year. I know I do need to come back and do a little bit of weeding around here. Our American elder is still flowering. Look at that. This is mid-October now, and I did actually almost miss the season even for American elder, simply because it's been so busy and not actually using the flowers to make some wine or cordial. But I made some last year, so that wine will be ready now. Yes, last year, that's right. It takes about a year for the wine to really become ripe. So this is a great mullein plant. That's not going to go to flower this year, I hope. Hopefully it'll be okay next year. It might hang in there. It will definitely come back again in spring, I'd say. Well, how are we doing, Levi? All right. Let's keep it moving. Got a lot more to see. This is our Woodchip Island, and it is a true jungle this time of year. And look at the amount of Jerusalem artichoke flowers. Hang on. Take a look. Take a look at all the Jerusalem artichoke flowers. So if you can make that out from there. It is windy today. There's a birch tree that has seeded itself here. I don't mind, let it grow. Sure, why not? If we need the space, if we don't want the tree here anymore, as Jeff Lawton once said, a chainsaw is faster than the tree can grow, so there's no harm. We got a few varieties of sea buckthorn here as well that we can take cuttings from, and you can see here it is truly a jungle. These are the Japanese wine berries. Look how prickly they are. They are lethal. We've been chopping things back just a little bit here, just to make some room to walk into the Woodchip Island, but we don't really need to this time of year. We'll wait until the stalks die back, then we can chop them all down in one go. We've always got a bit of kale here and there. That's the Taunton Dean kale. We've got cuttings of those available on our website too. And here's the real highlight of the tour. Alright, so we've cleared the entire area now, and we're going to remove the plastic now. Have to just pull that out from under the pat. Come on, that's it. And look at that. Absolutely perfect. This is ideal conditions to put compost on top of. Where we just removed the plastic about a month ago and we put down compost, and you can see here it's already going really well. It's probably going to be definitely canopy gardening. This is our new no-dig garden, a new no-dig section of the garden I should say, and if you have seen what that looked like in early summer when we planted it, it was basically just an area with plastic and old pots, and we got rid of the pots in June and planted and put down compost and planted it up with fresh seedlings. Unfortunately, some of it has been frost damaged, but fortunately a lot of the leaves are still intact, so the tubers are going to keep on growing. And these are comfrey plants. That started off as a little root like that in June, and look at the size of it now. These comfrey plants grow so fast. They're just stacking leaves on top of one another. Don't ask me where these red Russian kale came from. I didn't plant them this year. They must have come from a seed or something. They must have self-seeded themselves here. Here are more Jerusalem artichokes. Definitely worth putting a little bit of a fence along one side, a tall fence, just to contain them a little bit. Because they do fall over onto the path in any direction. Not just in the direction of the prevailing wind, but during a drought or during a lot of rainfall, they can also droop as well. Take a look at the Portuguese kale. That was planted here 2.5 years ago, and it's still going. I think it actually has self-seeded as well here, so it did go to seed last year. I didn't plant this year, so it's just coming back by itself. And that's the idea when you're setting up to grow a forest garden. What you want to do is you want to just prepare the ground by smothering the existing vegetation, add fertility in the form of mushroom compost, for example, like you can see here on the ground there, the black stuff, and plant it up, do canopy gardening, plant it up completely full of your own plants, whatever kind of cultivated plants you'd like to grow, or wild plants that are beneficial to you, that you can take a harvest from, or that are for the insects, for example, to attract beneficial insects. And then just let it grow and just do a bit of selective weeding, as in like just a bit of casual weeding, as Patrick Whitefield once said. Just walk around your garden and just as you're doing a bit of planting or a bit of harvesting, simply pull up some of the weeds among your cultivated plants, and then you can manage it. If you cover the whole lot with wood chips, it's even better, like the Woodchip island, which is beyond this garden here. We'll take a look at it. This is yacon flower. It has a really nice smell. We have some seeds now from a couple of years ago and from last year. Haven't got a chance to actually grow them out though. We have some really good varieties though. Red and a white yacon. The tubers are really nice to eat, especially in the winter, of course. That's when you harvest them. They're kind of like an apple. Where did you come out of? You came out from the jungle. You have emerged from the jungle. You're having fun. Are you having fun? All right. Here we have a few different varieties of willow, some josta berries. There's some curly willow. This is a purple tree spinach. It always goes to seed and it always self-seeds every year. So we actually took it down to one plant last year in this area, and look at that. Now we still have too much of it coming up. Look at all that. That's all right though. There's no harm in it. You can see it is kind of in the quinoa family, I believe, and it is really nice to eat. The leaves, especially in early summer or midsummer, you can fry those up or saute them for like literally 30 seconds or a minute with some butter and add some cheese at the end. So purple tree spinach is a really nice vegetable. We're hoping to get a seed crop out of it this year. If it's not too wet, of course the next week is going to be very wet, so that's not good for seed saving. These are some comfrey plants in the corner there, and I can see some grasses here. Oh Jesus, I better take care of those. The nettles have always been an issue here. The dogs are still learning about nettles, aren't you? You don't know what a nettle is yet, do you? Probably stung you in the nose at one stage. Now you have respect for them. Yeah, this garden here does require a little bit of weeding. This was simply no-dig garden beds 2 years ago that we set up 3 years ago, and it is it's been basically just growing cultivated plants of all sorts, like a lot of different varieties of kale, herbs like lovage, and a lot of oregano. There's catmint, and there's poppies, lemon balm. What else do I see here? That is salmonberry, I believe, or in Japanese wineberry over here. Here's a lupin. This is Japanese wineberry. And this area here, got out of hand so much that I just covered it with plastic. And more Jerusalem artichokes. I've already been taking up a few of them here. And you can see here, they are doing well. Look at that. Not bad. Let me just pull one up for you. I have no gloves on though. Let's see. Oh yeah, that didn't go the way it should. All right. Yeah, you get the idea. So they're still growing anyway, and once the leaves have completely receded, I'd say those are usually photosensitive. That means when the days get shorter to the point where the plant just knows it's time to pack in for the winter and to conserve its energy and put it down in under the ground. They wouldn't keep growing if it was a mild climate. Like, I think these ones actually would, if we had no frosts at all here in Ireland, the Jerusalem artichoke would still recede. But the yacons and the ochas and the mashuas, they all die back because there is a hard frost. Same as Madeira vine. Well, let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or if you have any comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any ideas even about the garden, or how would I turn this into a proper forest garden like Martin Crawford's in Devon, well, let me know. I have a Szechuan pepper as well. The seeds came from Tim Harland. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. I got the seeds from him years ago, so it's sort of a little bit of a tribute to have that growing and to have received the seeds from him. You can see here, this is a curly willow. It's quite nice. And we take cuttings from it as well. A lot of different currants, and here are some golden raspberries. It's been a bit too wet for them to ripen properly. Here's a few. Let me try it now. This is mid-October, so I wouldn't expect this to be sweet now, but let's see. It's pretty good actually, even considering, I'd say late September is better for raspberries. This is a 4-year-old marshmallow plant, and you can see here, unfortunately there are some nettles around the bottom of it. I'm going to take those away, but you can see here it has finished growing now this year anyway. There's no more leaves, very few leaves left, and there are seeds now. They call this cheese wheel, or even cheeses. That's the name of the plant, one of the common names. And you can see here the reason why they call it that. Jez, will you stop running in the plastic? Go on, off you go. You can see here it does look a bit like a cheese wheel, and you can eat those actually, or you can grow more plants. If you break it up, look, you get a few seeds. We have some pear trees here and apple trees, a few raspberries still growing here. Well, this has definitely turned into a bit of a jungle. These Portuguese kale plants have been planted here like 4.5 years ago, I think it was. Maybe 4.5 years ago. And they're still going. I cannot believe it. A lot of them were wiped out with the frost that we had last year. That was the minus 10 degrees Celsius, almost minus 10. Can you find a way through the jungle? Go. Go. Come. You'll find a way. All right. Oh, will you come out of me? No dig bed. Come. Out. Good. This is Egyptian mint, which has a very unique flavour. And we have some aronia berries. They have lovely colours in the autumn. Look at that. We have a lot of suckers on the aronia berries, so hopefully we'll get some extra plants now in the years to come. But you can see here the Woodchip island has changed a lot since it was planted first, and it's been basically zero maintenance other than wiping out the creeping buttercup finally once and for all this year. But of course they'll be back. You just know the creeping buttercup is going to be back. You just know. But you know what, for about 3 years I didn't take care of the creeping buttercup at all, and it took over the place. Like, it actually replaced our strawberry plants here in the Woodchip island. And this year I just committed. This summer now, I actually just committed. Early in the summer I just spent like 3 days wiping out all of the cream buttercups, just pulling them all up. Actually, it didn't take that long, maybe 3 or 4 hours a day for 3 days over a period of a couple of weeks. So yeah, that took care of it. Hopefully they won't be back in force next year. This is the other half of the Woodchip island, and you can see the other royal ingress trees, the perennials here. This one. Would you believe it? All of this will be just completely flat to the ground. It'll be all gone in a couple of months' time when we get a frost. And then we can start harvesting cuttings and tubers and stuff. And we can do a bit of maintenance. Oh, look what I found. If you're still here, thank you for watching the video. I highly appreciate it, and we will see you the next time. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below on whatever platform you might be watching this on. It could be on YouTube, Odyssey and Rumble. Although on Rumble we still haven't synced all of our videos yet, but we will get there. If you're interested in buying any tubers, vegetables like perennials or cuttings or plants, take a look at our website. We also have a no-dig course as well. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.